Curt Cignetti seems a little concerned with the issues that Indiana football is having on defense, and they got to get this thing cleaned up.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, and it is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is here, and visit FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. Well, thank you so much for being here, truly making Locked On Hoosiers your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are 57 days away from the start of Indiana basketball. We'll kind of talk about the excitement about that and what you can expect between now and then. Plus, it was announced that Indiana and Illinois will be a night game at Memorial Stadium. We'll talk about the hype around that, why that's such a big deal, and why that is obviously a huge advantage for the Indiana Hoosiers. But Curt Cignetti met with the media on Monday, as he typically does, and there are some concerns, I think, from him and from us too, but the fact that he's concerned about him as well is a little worrisome on the defensive side of the football, which is something I didn't expect a ton of in 2025, because look, I think Brian Haynes is one of the best defensive coordinators in the Big Ten. I think he's really, really good. And there's so much talent on that side of the football that we have talked about all off season long, and even as the season has begun, right? Whether it's the big boys up front, the linebacker spot in the middle, or your guys in the secondary. You have dudes at all three layers. Now, injuries have hurt you a little bit, especially in that safety room, which we're going to learn more about this week, most likely. But there are still things happening that are not detrimental yet, but could be bad down the road. And Curt Cignetti spoke about these. He was asked about it. And he was asked about the things that need to be cleaned up from the first few games defensively. Some of those lingering issues is what the question was. And here's what Curt Cignetti said. He said, I think every game is different. The offense improved, yes. The defense gave up too many chunk plays. He says they had an opportunity for more chunk plays, talking about Kennesaw State, that they didn't execute. We also had a lot of nice defensive explosive and TFLs. I agree with all of that. I think Indiana had some big hits. I think you had some nice plays on the quarterback. But I said in the post game on our live show on Saturday and on our show yesterday that the chunk plays are a concern for me. You can't give up 15, 20-yard easy open plays over the middle to a team like Kennesaw State, because teams like Illinois will pick that apart, and they will move the football down the field, and they'll score more than 9 points. They'll get more than 271 yards like Kennesaw State had. They will take advantage. And so that's obviously a concern for us, but clearly it's a concern for the head coach too, that you can't give up these big open plays time after time after time. He goes on to say, but we missed tackles at linebacker more. We had some misfits. Safeties were out of position quite a few times. He says, we got to get lined up quicker. Communication has to be cleaner. There needs to be a little bit more attention to detail and our preparation in the back end. That worries me. The fact that we're not getting lined up properly, the fact that Indiana's having communication issues, the fact that later on, I'm going to read you another quote that he says about when the offense is moving and realigning, we're not adjusting properly. Indiana's not making the proper moves to be lined up correctly. And I know that it's early in the season. I get that this was week 2, but man, this can't happen. This cannot be happening. And it really, to be honest with you, shouldn't be happening with the experience you have on that side of the ball. These are things we didn't worry about last year. Every now and then, sure, you're going to get burned here and there. It's college football. But, man, we didn't talk about this type of stuff a year ago. We didn't worry about big plays or guys being lined up in the wrong spot or having missed assignments and worried about chunk plays against cupcake teams. We didn't really have a whole lot of that. But the good news is you have time. The good news is you have plenty of time to get these things fixed. And hopefully you do this weekend against Indiana State, a team that plays several quarterbacks and has a lot of motion and movement and some trickery up their sleeve. You have time to fix it and another opportunity to get it cleaned up. But I'm not the only one. I'm not blowing smoke here. This is the words from Curt Cignetti saying the defense is not playing the way it needs to. He gave them credit, right? I mean, again, you gave up 9 total points in less than 300 yards of offense. You did your job. They couldn't even run for 90 yards. Like, that's a good defensive performance on the scoreboard and as a whole. It's the little things that pop up over time against smaller opponents that get coaches worked up, that get coaches concerned, that have them losing sleep over at night. And this is what it is. And you would hope, right, with guys like Aiden Fisher, they step up and help these sorts of issues. They help with the communication. They help with the lining up incorrectly. Someone like D'Angelo Pons on the outside. And look, we're trying to figure out what the heck's going to happen in the safety room. Cignetti talks about having 3 guys playing at safety and kind of rotating around. We're going to find out what happens with Lewis Moore, hopefully this week. I don't know. He played the first 2 games. Now what? Indiana could be down another safety. You could be down another DB. That's concerning too. But at the end of the day, that side of the football as a whole, I am confident in figuring it out. The offense is going to get there, right? And Cignetti talks a lot of good things about the offense. It's still not where it needs to be. He talked about drop balls and things like that, but he said they took a step forward. The defense has just got to get back to where it was. If it's back to where it was last year, you're good to go. You're going to be fine. You won't give up big plays. You're going to get to the quarterback. You're going to force turnovers, which you did again on Saturday, which is a good thing that Indiana has to continue to do. But we talked about it. Cignetti even talked about it. The play of the game was an awesome defensive strip, but it was on a busted play. It was on a big chunk play by the offense where Indiana was able to make an individual effort. Those things have to be cleaned up this week before you enter Big Ten play, because Illinois will take advantage of it. Some of these other teams will do it, and you can't afford to give up big plays, big drives, and just expect your defense to bend, don't break every single time. So Cignetti's concerned with it. I am too, but I feel that they're going to get it cleaned up, okay? They're going to be fine. Trying to find the quote where he says it's literally always about assignments, but he basically says, yeah, when you have these busted plays and things like that, he says it's always an assignment issue. Always. He said it's always somebody in the wrong spot. Oh, it's literally right here. He says, the question is, when you see these chunk plays is it structural issues? Is it individual misassignments? He says, quote, it's always somebody not doing what they're supposed to do. Always. Whether it's a missed tackle, poor read, a poor fit, or an alignment issue. Basically, he says it's not the system, it's the player. And he's not saying that in a negative way. He's not saying that in a deflective way. He's saying what he sees on film of, yeah, our guy didn't line up right. Yeah, our guy ran the wrong way. Yeah, our guy didn't do what he was supposed to do. We'll get there. We'll coach him. We'll teach him, and he'll be fine. But he says that's what it is every single time. So if that tells you what you need to know, this team's going to get it fixed. They're going to get it cleaned up, and you better, because Big Ten play starts next week. All right, coming up here on Locked On Hoosiers, we'll talk about Big Ten play starting and how it's going to be under the lights at Memorial Stadium. We'll talk about that coming up next. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Time to fuel up and turn it up with a 5 Hour Energy transfusion. This grape, ginger, and lime flavored shot brings the iconic taste of a golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic boost. Perfect for sinking birdies or making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Whether you're out on the course or just need a little extra push to power through your day, 5 Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. Look, you're always out there on the golf course. You're having fun with your friends, right? Whether you're chipping in or you hit a nice drive, or maybe you just sink a bogey putt after having a scramble. That's what I end up having to do. You want something to sip on while you're going, while you're out there. You want to keep the vibes alive through 18 holes, or maybe you want to play 36. This is the way to do it. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors. The grape ginger lime flavor, a 5-hour energy transfusion, gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without leaving the course or chasing down the beverage cart. Now you can amp up with the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for 2 to any golf tournament in the USA. Tee up that trip rather. Visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends on October 31st of 2025. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here and off to a bang, if I will say, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, they'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. That's right. You place a $5 bet and it wins, they're giving you $300 in bonus bets to use any way that you would like to. So, you've got Thursday night football this week. Believe it's the Packers and Commanders. You could throw some stuff on that if you think Jaden Daniels is going to go off. Maybe Jordan Love has another good game like you did in week 1. Whatever the case may be, put $5 on something. And if it hits, they're giving you $300. Okay, it's quick, it's easy, and it's the best way to add a little more energy to your Sunday afternoon. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet today. All right, welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Appreciate you being here. Again, making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, that you're liking the videos, leaving your thoughts down in the YouTube comments as well. And if you're on audio, make sure you follow us over there and have those notifications turned on as well. And we got some good news to start the week, as we always get the next week's game times now that we're getting into the season for college football. We always get the next week's game times for across the conference. And we got some good news for Indiana versus Illinois. And man, it should have always been this way. It should have always been this way. There never should have been any doubt. And I'm glad that the Big Ten and really the TV networks went ahead and made this a possibility. Indiana and Illinois will be a night game under the lights at Memorial Stadium. That's right, a 7:30 Eastern time kickoff between Indiana and Illinois, which as of right now is a top 25 matchup. And I think it absolutely will be a top 25 matchup. Good chance of it being a top 20 matchup, right? Indiana ranked 22nd in the latest AP poll. Illinois ranked number 9 in the latest AP poll. And so this is how it should be. This is a huge, huge game. It's one of the biggest games in the Big Ten season all year long. And I truly believe that. We've talked to our guy Sonny of Locked On Illini. We'll have him on again several times between now and the game next Saturday. But man, you're talking about a game that possibly determines that third team from the Big Ten getting to the college football playoff. I really do think it's that big. I really do think that these teams are both that good, and that this game could determine possibly who gets to the Big Ten championship game. But I think it's more so of, hey, who could represent the Big Ten Conference in that expanded college football playoff? Because we understand that it's Penn State, Ohio State, and Oregon. They all look good right now, but they have to play each other in some way, shape, or form. What happens if they drop a game or two? What happens if they have to play each other again in the Big Ten championship game? That's where Indiana and Illinois are living at right now, where these two teams are not and should not be concerned with making it to the Big Ten championship game. That's kind of my hot take here. But Indiana and Illinois don't need the Big Ten championship game. You don't need it. Win your games. You'll probably drop one along the way. Okay, darn, you didn't qualify to go to Indy. Who cares? You still get to the college football playoff if you're a top 15, top 10 team in the Big Ten and only have one significant loss. Take Indiana, for example. Let's say we win all of our games except Penn State and Oregon, and you split one of those. All right, cool. Well, you're probably not going to go to the Big Ten championship game, but you better believe you're going to the college football playoff. And to be honest, I'm cool with that. That's fine by me. I don't want to play the extra game. I don't want to have to mess with that. And Illinois should feel the exact same way. They should feel the exact same way. Let me pull their schedule back up here for just a moment because they may feel and probably should feel the exact same way. They play Indiana on this schedule. They do have to play USC, which is tough. That's at home, though. They get Ohio State at home. They have to go to Washington. And then the rest of their back half of their schedule is not bad at all. So Illinois probably got that mindset, too, of, all right, Indiana, USC, Ohio State, Washington. They'll beat USC. I'm not worried about that. So between Indiana, Ohio State, Washington, their idea is get one, possibly two. You do that, and of course, take care of all your other games. Illinois is going to the college football playoff, but probably not the Big Ten championship game. That's why this game between Indiana and Illinois is so crucial. And the fact that it's at home for Indiana, now it's under the lights, it's on NBC, so the whole country is going to be able to watch it. What an opportunity for the Hoosiers and Curt Cignetti to put themselves back in the national spotlight. Because we were in the national spotlight last year when we made the college football playoff, and leading up to the college football playoff, right? Everybody was pumped. Everybody was excited. Everybody wanted a part and a little bit of a piece and a taste of what was happening with the Indiana Hoosiers. Well, then we get to the playoff, we lose to Notre Dame, and that was pretty much it. And nobody wanted anything to do with us anymore. And now all they do is poke fun at our non-conference schedule. This is an opportunity to pretty much wipe all that away and say, yeah, we played bad teams in non-con, but we also just beat a top 10 team at night on our home field. So now what are you going to say? And I do think that Illinois is a good team, and I think they looked really good against Duke. They looked really good against Duke, who had 5 turnovers, and Illinois converted on almost all of those. Right? Illinois is a good football team. And while I'm not buying the hype and wasn't buying the hype in preseason about them being the second best team in the Big Ten or whatever, they're still a good team. And it's going to take everything that Indiana has to beat them at night inside of Memorial Stadium. But I'm just glad that the conference and the TV networks respect this game and understand how big the magnitude of Indiana and Illinois is this year. Because, look, I think this is college game day potential. Don't think they've announced it yet. I think this is college game day potential. I think this is big new kickoff potential, which it won't be, I guess, since this game's a night game on NBC. But you get what I'm saying here. It is national coverage worthy. And people should be talking about this game right now, as we are. And I can't wait for it to happen. But to go back to what we talked about in the first segment, Indiana has to get better. Plain and simple. Indiana's got to get better in this game or this season before they play this game. But I expect the crowd to be wild. The atmosphere will be insane. The entire game day experience is going to be awesome for Indiana. And then you have a chance to beat a top 10 team at home. Illinois plays Western Michigan this week, so they will remain top 10 unless the AP poll voters do stupid things like they did this past week. But I expect this to be a top 20 matchup, and you have every opportunity in the world if you're IU for recruiting, for atmosphere, for just a simple plain out win. This is going to be awesome, and I cannot wait for Indiana and Illinois next week, 7:30 Eastern time kick on NBC under the lights at Memorial Stadium. All right, coming up on our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers, we'll talk a little basketball because the countdown, it's on, man. We're 57 days away from the start of Indiana basketball. We talk about how much fun that's going to be right after this. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Game Time. College football is back, and I could not be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to you, the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up the Game Time app, and in just a couple of taps, I saw a ton of amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite college football games as low as $25. And look, just being honest, it's faster, it's cheaper, and it's less stressful than any other way that I've bought tickets before. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKED ONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All right, final segment on Locked On Hoosiers. Again, thank you so much for being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. My everydayers, thank you for being with us and getting through the football season as we're really getting through the non-conference games and getting you ready for Big Ten play. But the countdown to basketball season is on. And folks, we are, as this episode comes out on Tuesday, September 9th, we are 57 days away from the start of Indiana basketball, which is awesome, which is incredible, which it sounds like a long time, but it's really not. I mean, November 5th will be here before we know it. You've got the month of September and the month of October, and that's it. You are less than 2 months away from the start of Indiana basketball. And for what it's worth, you're even closer than that. I think the count's like 36 or something like that before you play your first exhibition against Marion, right? You play them on October 17th. Then you play that exhibition against Baylor on October 26th before you open up the season against Alabama A&M on November 5th. And look, there's a lot of buzz around this basketball team and around this basketball program, whether it's recruiting or whether it's the new coach or the new team or just people getting back in the building at Assembly Hall, which you can do against Marion. That's exciting and everybody's pumped. It's a new era, right? It's a new wave of what Indiana basketball could be. And we just want it to be good, right? We just want it to be competitive and be different than what it's been the past several years. And look, I think it will be. I do. I think it absolutely will be different. It will look different. It will sound different. It will feel different than what it has. Will more wins come because of it? We're going to have to wait and see. My prediction is yes. My prediction is yes. I think you make the NCAA tournament this year. I think you win some games in the Big Ten that you haven't won in previous years. And it's going to be exciting to watch with Darian Devries as the new man in Bloomington. You're going to see up and down the floor. You're going to see points scored. You're going to see a team shoot the three ball, which is crazy, right? I mean, what a wild idea that is. But I think you're going to be able to feel this team build throughout the season. And that's what's going to be really cool, is watching them grow. Because look, we know individual players. We know individual stats from a year ago. We know playing styles, and we know what they did at their previous stops, but we don't know anything about this team, right? We don't know anything other than what we got to be covering in Puerto Rico and get information from that, right? That's all we know. And those are 3 exhibition games that I don't know. You were talented. You were more talented than the teams you played. And it took 2 comeback wins for you to go 3-0. So my point is, we don't really know a whole lot. And so we get to learn. We get to learn all of these things as we go. We get to learn what the starting 5 will be, what the true rotation will be, what your depth pieces are, what this team is good at, what they're not good at. We get to find out immediately by playing Marquette in game 2 of the season. You also have Louisville on that schedule. You have Kentucky on that schedule. And then you have your Big Ten schedule as well. It's going to be a fun season. And we're counting down the days, 57, until Indiana hits the floor officially for game 1 of the 2024 or 2025 and 2026 season. And I think Darian Devries has done a good job building out the hype around this team, building a team in general, and also still getting out there on the recruiting trail, which he's doing and has been doing since he got to Bloomington. Every single time that he and his staff are able, rules allowing, right, to go out and see kids, they do. They go see them. They go all over the country. Heck, we're going across the world to go see kids and try to get them to come take a visit to Indiana. And you've got visits lined up for the next several weeks, including this weekend and next weekend too, and into October. they're doing the right things off the floor or outside of the games. Now you got to put it all together and get some wins. And nobody's saying go undefeated. Nobody's saying get to the Final Four. Nobody's saying any of those things. But we do want it to be better, and we do want it to be different. And I think that it will. I absolutely think that it will. And I'm super, super pumped to see this team 2 more times in exhibition games that don't matter, right? Get on the floor. There'll be a pretty significant gap between you playing in Puerto Rico and playing those 2 exhibition games right on October 17th and October 26th. And so what'd you change? What'd you work on? What'd you fix? How does that look different and feel different from Puerto Rico to these games? And then you get the season started against Alabama A&M on November 5th. So gonna be a lot of fun. Cannot wait to watch and cover it all right here on Locked On Hoosiers. Man, this is the spot you need to be, the spot you want to be during basketball season. Not wishing away football by any means, but man, that fun little crossover time is going to be a blast. And this is where you want to be, is with Locked On Hoosiers. Okay, we are out of time for today's episode, but we appreciate you being here again, supporting us however you do, liking the videos, commenting, subscribing, turning on your notifications, whatever you're doing. We appreciate that you do that. Okay, we are back for another episode tomorrow, Hoosier fans. So until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.